America wants, nice and calm. You're almost there.
Yeah, I did it. I cried 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it. Let's take it to the stage.
You dig it? You knock a dude down, you get some respect.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Let me get myself on the big screen here. Happy Monday. What's going on in the BMU universe? R Payne here, your favorite baby boomer. Hey, we're going to talk a little bit about, what just like the title said, you ain't black if you don't vote Democrat. And I'm saying that's the devil. The devil's a liar on that one. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, but how's the Monday? We're going to give some people a couple of minutes to get in here. I was out last week, so every so often, man, I got to take care of some shit on Monday nights. So my streak has been long gone, so that's all right. So just say hello. Come on back. Come on over and let's talk about what it means to be a black person and not vote Democrat. And why you should be, open to be an independent voter. Doesn't matter who you vote for, as long as you vote, but you should be independent and understand what your vote really means. Because even though we can't vote a la carte, I know we wish we could, but we can't. You pick one party over another, you're voting for all the shit in that party. It's as simple as that. You might like a couple of planks, but if they have some planks you don't like and you give them your vote, you're actually voting for those planks as well, even if you don't think you are. Anyway, so like I said, it's I'm gonna wait for a few folks to show up and just hit the like button on the way in, and just tell us how you doing today. Just say hello, put a little hi sign in the chat, saying everything's okay. How you feel about what's going on with the government? The shutdown still looms, and TSA agents are being hurt big time. It's unfortunate. Hey, listen, if I was king for a day, the one thing I would never allow the government to do is shut down. It's as simple as that. These bastards only have one job, and that's to keep the government running. And no matter what the disagreements are, they should always keep the government running. What's going on, Diva? I'm glad you feel great. It's good. I'm glad you feel great. Yeah, it's a battle within. That's for sure. These guys are battling it out. But the only people who get hurt are the folks who are the workers. And this is not a time for Homeland Security to be undermanned, especially with the bombing going on, right? It's not a good idea. It really isn't. We already had 3 mini terrorist attacks already on our soil. The Iranians have no other choice but to be asymmetric in their get back. Hey, listen, this is a big thing. Thune doesn't have the backbone to pass the SAFE Act through the Senate, because I think the only way he's going to get that through is by breaking the filibuster. And I think he's already come out and said he doesn't have the stomach to do that. I hope I'm wrong in interpreting where he comes from, but it seems like he's already given up. To me, he's a weak leader. I think if it was, and I don't like him, but if it was Mitch McConnell and he really wanted it to happen, he would find a way. He would have found a way. Yeah. So anyway, so like I said, today we're going to talk about the fact that, and this is on the people, this is on the so-called black leaders, this is on their head, and the people who are liberal saying if you don't vote Democrat as a black person, you know, you ain't black. And the point really is, unfortunately, I'm one of those kind of guys who was born at the end of Jim Crow. And it's almost safe to say that most black people born in that time frame were born into the Democrat Party. You know, the vast majority of blacks started voting Democrat back then in the 60s. Okay. And it wasn't always like that. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people have really short memories, don't understand. They like to talk about history, but they don't really want to talk about the history that black folks used to be Republicans all throughout the South and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to hit on some of those things because it's a lie to think that somehow the Democrats have some kind of birthright to the black vote. It's just not true. And if it was true, and if people think it was true, it's time to get over that shit. It's not true. You know, we are not beholden to any party at all, and we never should have been. And we should really be mad at the so-called black leaders for ever leading us astray and giving our votes to one party. It was a mistake in the beginning. We should have always somehow been, you know, in the middle as independents, voting for the people with our best interests in mind. So we're going to go through a few things. And I want to take it down to the beginning and then lead up to, I have a string of clips about black folks walking away from the Democrat Party. And, it's a few, it's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 clips. I shortened them, but I'd like to go through them because I have some comments to each one of them, maybe. And then I got a couple of charts I want to show you guys and talk about that. And I'll drop the link for anybody who might wants to come up. Maybe not right now, but I'll have it ready. And we could have a conversation if you want to. Now, if you come up, you got to be on camera. That's BMU's one rule that he says if you come up, you got to be on camera. And anybody who's watching this on my Marriage, Politics, and Sports channel as simulcast, I appreciate that as well. All right. Well, what's going on in this? Yeah, we're winning, man. We're winning. But is it over? I don't know. Okay, so what do I have for you? Let's take it from the beginning. Let's take it from the start. When blacks used to be, slaves before we were free. And so I went and done some digging. And let's look at this thing. If you look at the title of this particular chart, and I got 2 of these, the history of the Democrat opposition, oppression of the black man. Okay. A lot of people don't realize this, but the Southern slave owners were Democrats. They were Democrats. Chattel slavery was done under the most, everybody wants to say our slavery was worse than everybody else's, but slavery to me is slavery. Somebody's doing whatever they want to you. I don't think there's any sweet way of doing that. But those were Democrats, those Southern Democrats, okay? And nobody says that enough, right? All of these so-called black leaders and all these people, giving us all this horse shit about the Democrats today. Well, I'm telling you that back then they had us in shackles physically. Today, they have the black community in shackles mentally. It's the same grift. All right. So in 1865, the 13th Amendment was signed to end slavery. Guess who was against it? The Democrats. They were against that, the 13th Amendment. Reconstruction era from 1865 to 1877, which encompassed the 14th and the 15th Amendment. Guess who was against that? The Democrats. The Democrats were against that, and not to mention that even though even though the Civil War was fought to keep the Union together, you can't deny the fact that a byproduct of that war was to free the slaves, right? Because that had to happen in order for the Union to be whole again. And that was one white brother fighting another white brother, with some blacks. Unfortunately, some blacks did fight for the Confederacy, which was stupid. Just like we have blacks fighting for the Democrats right now, which I think is stupid. So there you have it. We were, after we were free, we almost overwhelmingly voted Republican because of what they did to free the slaves. And you can look that up. I'm not making that up. It's right there in the history books. All right. So where did the big change come in? I'm not there yet, but just think about it. You know, do the Democrats today, and does anybody today, and all the black grifters trying to keep us in a constant state of victimization, do they talk about the fact that in the past we used to vote Republican on a regular basis? All right. So the Ku Klux Klan, you know, people say that they were started by the Democrats. It's not exactly true. However, the leadership was overwhelmingly part of the Democrat Party, but the Democrats officially did not start the KKK as a plank as a Democrat. But those leaders were Democrats, Southern Democrats. There you go. They killed a lot of black people after slavery. They lynched a lot of black people. Some people say lynching is going on again today, and the cops are covering it up. All right, so I don't know where we got this great beholden to the Democrat Party. All right, so somewhere in the Jim Crow era, also, okay, if we want to talk about that, you know, by the way, you know, there was no man really named Jim Crow. I think it was some kind of book or something like that. But then again, the Jim Crow era went from 1877 to 1964, right before the Civil Rights Act. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a long period of time, almost 100 years under oppression, right? It's kind of funny that our black people's family ties were even stronger back then than they are today, because we had to be, right? So that was all Jim Crow. But here's when the blacks started voting to Democrats. It was during the Great Depression in the 1930s, when FDR started talking about the New Deal, you know, the Great Depression. So they were starting to start social programs and welfare programs to help people out. And of course, we had to start voting for that because we were hurting as much or more than everybody else. So that's when it started to shift to when black folks started to split the votes between Democrats and Republicans. And you could go look that up. You don't take my word for it. There's charts and all that shit on that. You could do an AI Google search or whatever. You know, all this stuff is right there for us to read. So that's the whole Jim Crow era. So what stopped it? What ended the Jim Crow era? The Civil Rights Act, of course. But here's the big fallacy, okay? A lot of people think it was the Democrats that pushed through the Civil Rights Act. It actually was a Republican. It was a Republican, Everett Dirksen, who had to break the filibuster. One of the longest filibusters in American history was held by the Democrats to stop the Civil Rights Act from getting to Lyndon Baines Johnson's desk. Nobody, nobody talks about that. It was the Democrats saying, you know, F you guys, we don't want you to have any civil rights. And it was a Republican to get more Republicans to get closer to actually break the filibuster. And then the bill passed, and it went on Lyndon Baines Johnson's desk. And somewhere in the Air Force One, and I haven't seen this written or anywhere, but they said when he was talking to the press, right, he says, you know, once I sign this bill, I'm going to have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Now, we've all heard that repeated over and over and over again. I don't, whether it was a real quote or not. It's kind of just like, Jordan saying, Republicans buy sneakers too. Can't find the quote, but it's kind of that everybody believes he said that. So here we are now. LBJ was right. After the Civil Rights Act, we just somehow blindlessly in the 90 percentile and above started giving our votes one way to the Democrats. And one of the biggest mistakes we made as a subculture here in the United States, because it bred contempt. Democrats had no incentive to do shit for us because they didn't have to work for our votes. And the Republicans said, since we lost their votes, when we get in power, we don't have to do shit for them either because they never vote for us. And we're the only demographic who ever did that. It's like we're just a bunch of idiots. And that shit has to stop. And anybody telling you that if you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black, he's a liar. He's a devil. And we should, challenge anybody who says that to us outright. Because all the way up to the Civil Rights Act, the Democrats were sticking that shit all the way up our asses. And now that they know that they have a bunch of grifters and a bunch of, lying raccoons who will help them keep us firmly on the plantation, they still disrespecting us up to and including the point where over the last 4 years that they're importing millions of people to replace the black vote. I'm not making that up. Just open your eyes and see what's happening with the open borders. Okay, so here's my thing. And, I just wanted to go through that. So over the last 62 years, in the last 62 years, from 1964 till now, where do we stand as black people in America? Where do we stand? And oh, by the way, only 24 years out of the last 62 years was run by the Democrats. 38 years, the Republicans were in power in the last 62 years. So there's two things to consider, okay? If the Democrats are the only party that will give us any kind of solace whatsoever, then how come we're not destroyed because the Republicans were in charge 38 of those years? Do you understand what I'm saying? So kind of let's look at that. Let's kind of examine some of those years. Okay, the 62 years until where we are now. What is the state of the black community? What is the state? How are we doing giving all of our votes to the Democrats so blindlessly? What have they done for us to elevate us as black folks in this country? We're still on the bottom of the economic scale. We have our kids can't hardly read if they go to public schools in some inner cities. Our crime rate in the cities are higher than everybody else. Our unemployment is higher, right? Our single parenthood is higher. We're doing great, right? We're doing great. A lot of our women don't want children, so we have a eugenics line right to the clinics. So we're fantastic, right? It's fantastic out there. Now, that's not to say that there's a lot of successful black folks, but is that due to the Democrats or just due to people's hard work? All right, so let me go to the next chart, okay? Because to me, I don't see the case on why we give our votes to one party over another. We should be all independents and look at the world from an independent lens and then choose from there. All right, so over the last 62 years, okay, The Democrats continue to tell us that we're victims, we're too dog shit stupid to get licenses, to get IDs. We need them to exist, or else the bad white Republicans are going to get us. You know, and and there's 92% of the black women who believe that. Okay, 80% of black men do, and and there's nothing in the Democratic Party for men at all, if you ask me. So here's the thing. Okay, so if you know, what did the Democrats do for FBA ADOS black folks? Okay, on a nationwide basis over the last 62 years. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that, since 1961 to 2023, there was 5 times where the Democrats had the House, the Democrats had the Senate, the Democrats had the presidency, and the Democrats had a more balanced Supreme Court. There were 6 times. I have it on here. The first time, from 1961 to 1969, Kennedy Johnson era, of course, we passed the Civil Rights Act, which was pushed through by Republicans, by the way. What did we get out of that? Right? I mean, we've been screaming for reparations forever, and we didn't get it when the Democrats had power. All of a sudden, they had other important priorities. They didn't give us any reparations when they had the power to do it. Since 1961 to 1969. So they'll say, hey, you know, you didn't get reparations. We gave you affirmative action, which is a form of reparations, if you ask me. I'll give them that. But then, before that term of 1969 was over, white women usurped and hijacked affirmative action because white women became a protected class. And once white women became a protected class, which is the most absurd piece of shit I've ever heard in my life, they bumped everybody out of the way. They bumped everybody out of the way. So affirmative action was hijacked, okay? It was hijacked. Okay, so that's the first time the Democrats had the House, the Senate, the presidency, and a lenient Supreme Court. We didn't get reparations, and we didn't get that no lynching bill that everybody was clamoring for. So what did the Democrats do for us? Social programs? Yeah, we got some of that. Well, they funded some HBCUs, but so did Republicans. You know, so, all right. So the second time when the Democrats had the House and the Senate and the presidency and a lenient Supreme Court was under Jimmy Carter. Did he give out reparations? No, he didn't. Did he pass a no lynching bill or a crime bill to help blacks from oppressive racism? No, he didn't. No. And he was one of the most benevolent presidents that we had, right? So I'm sitting back here and saying, why are we so beholden to these fucking guys in the Democrat Party? I'm trying to figure it out. I need you guys to help me. Because I was voting Democrat all the way up until Hillary Clinton. And I got to admit, I voted for her because I started to believe the bullcrap about Trump. Now, Trump is a low character guy, okay? But this whole notion that he was the biggest racist in the world was just horseshit. Before he ran for president, he was hanging out with blacks all the time. Jesse Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, bobblehead doll, Al Sharpton, all the black celebrities that we know of were in the presence of Donald Trump. You know, real racists don't do that. They don't have anything to do with black folks. You know, so I'm just saying, you know, some of it is just a grift. Okay, so so here we go. In 1993 to 1995, Bill Clinton had the presidency, he had a favorable Senate, and he had the House. Did he give us reparations? Did he get the bills that we thought was the most important? You know what Bill Clinton gave us? He gave us the 94 crime bill. And if you go back and you listen to Biden, your sweet savior Biden, who was more racist than Trump ever was, And his speech on why we should lock up all the savage black people was one for the ages. And some of it was true. Some people were out of control, but the net was so wide. The net that the Democrats wove was so wide that there was people doing life that probably shouldn't have done more than a year or so in jail. And some of those people, if they're not dead, are still probably in jail for shit they shouldn't have been in there for. And so I think he gave some half-ass apology when they woke him up from one of his weekend at Bernie's sleeps during his presidency. So I'm still trying to figure out why did we blindlessly vote for these pricks? I'm saying where? Why? What have they done other than Trojan horse us, hypnotize us with their gender affirming care and their transvestite policies, the alphabet mafia policies, and open borders, and all of that shit, and giving illegal aliens all the tax dollars from the black community and other poor communities so these people could have free health care, free food, luxury hotels. Why? Why did that happen? So they could get the vote? Because, again, in the second term for Trump, if every black voter voted for Kamala Harris, Trump still would have won. And the Democrats recognize that the power of the black vote has been weakened, so they need new voters. And they're willing to spend $1 trillion to make it happen. And if it destroys America by flooding us with people who hate this country, they don't care. They don't care. So why do we keep giving our votes to them? All right, so Barack Hussein Obama, he had the House, he had the Senate, he had the presidency for 2 solid years. Did he give us reparations? No. Did he pass anti-lynching bill for blacks? No, he didn't. What he did by the end of his tenure, he did one good thing, and a lot of his business deals, whatever, to save the economic world from collapsing. He made some promises that he shouldn't have, but he did it, so he'll get credit for that. The Affordable Care Act, there's mixed bags about that, on whether it's even affordable for the people who need it. Is it better than nothing? Probably. But what did he do for black? And that wasn't just for blacks, by the way. The Affordable Care Act was for Americans. And if it was good, then we all kind of get something out of it. So I'll give him a little bit of that. But his crowning jewel, the number one thing that Barack Hussein Obama did for the country is placate, promote, and change the world forever for the alphabet community. He did more for the alphabet mafia than he did for anybody else. And he's still doing it, right? I mean, his wife, who hates his guts, he's on her podcast saying that black men should put their sons in front of some of these gay guys so they could be mentored. I never heard of such a thing in my life, but he said it. What the hell is he talking about? So that's Barack Hussein Obama. And by then, you know what? Our racial divide has never been greater since he was president. All right. So one more time. Joe Crime Bill Biden. Joe re-assaulted Anita Hill in the Senate, the well of the Senate, Biden. Joe, keep the blackies out of my kids' public school, Biden. Joe, eulogy for the Ku Klux Klan leader, Biden, had presidency from 21 to 23. He had the House, he had the Senate. Well, the Supreme Court was a little conservative, but did he give us reparations? No. Did he put an anti-crime bill out, anti-lynching bill out? No, but he did something for the Chinese, I believe. And of course, everybody does something for Israel. So here you got a group of, blackies voting for you religiously like idiots. And, I just don't want to. I'm sitting here saying, man, what the hell, man? What the hell? It's kind of like, it's kind of like, how did we get here from there? And where do we go from here? And I'm glad to start seeing more and more people starting to say, you know what, we got to get the hell off this plantation. Now, one of the things I wanted to show first, and it's kind of, and I probably won't show it now, but let me go ahead and say, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to ignore the chat. I was just on the roll. What did you say, Anissa? What's Trump's new plan for healthcare and all this kind of good stuff? Well, we'll get to Trump. Because even if Trump already laid out his planks for what he wanted to do for the country right now, he only got 3 more years left, and he's done more in this year for the country than any president I remember for right now. He closed the borders. He's trying to get all the illegals out. Now, the war with Iran, I wasn't for that, the excursion or incursion, but I understand what he's trying to do. Getting Maduro out of Venezuela so the Chinese won't take advantage of the Southern Hemisphere. Getting control of the oil from Iran, giving it to China. He's setting up the world to be under Pax Americana. And if you understand anything about Pax Romana, he's setting the world up to be beholden to America, which is a better position to be in, and as opposed to the other way around. So that's just my theory, right? If we have more control over the oil, more control over who our enemies are and how close they can get to us, the better for us. And Cuba is about to fall too. And not from violence, but through economics. Cuba, it needs to open up itself so it can save its citizens. And there's some deals being made there. So we can have one less communist country in our hemisphere. All this is some good shit. It really is when you look at it. So the man's character, okay. You know what? I don't think we voted to have saints in office. But if we would have had the cackling hen in office, man, our country might be going by now. Anyway, so I'm just trying to say, there's nothing I see here that tells me why, as Black folks, we should be so beholden to the Democratic Party. Now, I understand why Black women are, because they get all their affirmations, all the protections, all of these kind of things, the matriarchal bullshit that they believe in, and all that kind of stuff. They have a home in the Democratic Party for that. It makes them warm and fuzzy inside, They don't have to deal with men who stand on their square like they do in conservative spaces, who just don't sit here and let anybody talk to them any way they want to. They lead their families. They're not being led by their women. Okay, they're not intimidated by women, but men stand 10 toes down in a conservative movement. And I don't think Black women like when men stand 10 toes down. Oh, they want to have sex with them, but they want to control them as opposed to being the helpmate that they're supposed to be. So there you go. So I'm just saying. Now, I can't tell people to vote for Republicans. And I had like a icebreaker, and I'm glad I didn't show it. I'm glad I didn't show it. So I think most of us as Black folks, we should we should move to the center, right? We should be independents. We should think independently of any political party. And then we should have them, fighting for our votes. Fighting for our votes. That's what we need. And here's my thing. So the problem is that we only have 2 parties. And so here, listen, anybody go check this out, though. I wanted to mention the fact that the Democrats had a lot of time where they had all the reins of power, when they could have moved legislation through that could have changed the course of history for Black folks. And instead of doing that, they just stuck another banana in the tailpipe. And that's what they did. You know, so I don't see where and why we're so beholden to these fucking people. Really, I don't see it. And I'm not saying we should be beholden to the Republicans either. I'm saying we should be in the middle. Our votes should be naturally split, just like everybody else. But here's the rub, okay? That's chart 3. Here's the rub, okay? And the rub really is that when you vote for one, if you vote for one party, well, we're independent, but when it's time to vote, you got to lean to the left or you got to lean to the right, because we don't have any other party to vote for. Not really, not with a chance to win. So if you're a liberal or even a moderate Democrat, and you believe in, let's say, unfettered abortions on demand, you believe in that, the woman's right to choose. You believe in cashless bail because nobody should rot in jail without a trial, and you believe in those two planks. But then there's a bunch of shit you might not believe in. But if you give your votes to the Democrats, you're going to actually have to accept that the party's going to deliver all the planks, not just the ones you want. Same thing in the Republican side. So you got to do a balance. If you vote for one of your planks on the Republican side, will the other ones hurt you? Or the other ones demonic? Other planks on the Republican side, one of the things that might destroy America as opposed to build it up. So you have to make that kind of balance. So when I look at this list I put together, if I was a Democrat, but I was a moderate to conservative Democrat, could I vote for the Democrat Party? Well, I don't believe in open borders. They do. They don't believe that we should have borders. We should just let anybody who wants to come in and shit on our country do it. They believe in socialism and Marxism. I'm a capitalist. I don't believe in this socialist bullshit. You got to earn what you keep. And if you could look at what Zero Mondani is doing in New York, he's going to bleed the Black folks in New York dry to pay for his stupid schemes. Because Hochul is not going to tax the rich for his ass because she wants to be governor again, which is another big mistake, but that's a whole different kind of presentation. I should get on that one because I don't believe women should lead those kind of jobs either. Okay, I'm a chauvinist. I think conservative women should lead those jobs, not these liberal fucking women. Okay, so if you're a Democrat, you don't believe in natural order of things. You don't believe in gender roles. You believe that men and women are equal and we should be treated as such. Nothing could be further from the truth. You don't believe you believe in unfettered immigration. We got enough. You're in the streets getting yourself killed, trying to stop law enforcement from getting the bad guys and the illegal immigrants out of the country. You believe in gender affirming care, child mutilation. I can't vote for that. I can't. You know, you believe in stripping parents of their authority over their minor children. So people in schools can see your kid go put a furry uniform on and take a pee in the litter box and, demand that you purr at them for class as opposed to talk to them like a human being, right? You believe in unlimited amount of sexes. I don't believe in that shit. I believe God made a man and a woman. And then mutations happen because there's billions of us out there. So when I look on the Republican side, even if I don't agree with everything they say, I don't feel hurt by them securing the borders. I don't feel hurt by capitalism. That's the country we live in. I believe in gender roles. I'm a married man. I have roles in my house, and my wife does too, and some of them are blended. I believe in legal immigration. I believe in assimilation and allegiance to the country, right? I believe in protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation and castration. I believe, respect in parents' authority. If they're responsible for their kids, they have to have authority over them. I believe in only two sexes because I didn't make that shit up. God did. And man doesn't have the right to change that. I don't care how many sick people say they feel like a puppy. I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. But hey, listen, what you do in your own closed door, everybody has to, everybody, including me, is going to have to, defend their positions in front of God later on. So it's not for me to judge. I believe a woman should have the right to lead a kid, but this should be by exception and not by the rule. And we all know what those exceptions are. I believe in strong law enforcement. All this shit, man, so it's easy for me to say, you know what, how come I haven't been voting for conservatism? Because I was blinded, just like most black people was, to vote for Democrat. And look at all the horse shit that's on their side of the ledger. So black folks, you know what? It's more like you ain't black if you do vote Democrat. Because black people used to have conservative values. Everything didn't go. You just couldn't come and give us any kind of horse shit and we would agree with it. And now it's crazy. So all I'm just trying to say is that anybody who comes up and starts saying you ain't black if you don't vote Democrat, you need to challenge them immediately and copy this list. Because when I sit down and talk to men who say they're Democrats and start giving me all this puppy dog horse shit, I say, you really actually believe in child mutilation? Do you really? Do you believe that a chick with a dick should be in the locker room with your daughter? Do you really? Really? I mean, really? Anyway, and here's another thing about immigration that I don't understand about all the black folks who believe in just letting people come in this country willy-nilly, like your Joy Reids and all these stupid idiots, your D.L. Hugleys, your Ricky Smileys and all these fucking guys, right? How could you be a FBA or an ADOS black person with all the receipts in the world about what we did, our ancestors did, to feed this country in its formative years as slaves for free on the backs of our labor, the blood of our ancestors. And then we want to let fucking people from all around the world just come here and get it all for free without dropping an ounce of blood? How can that be? How can that be? How can you sit down here and say, let them all in, let them enjoy the fruits of the labor when the fucking country won't even pay us our reparations for what the fuck we did? We're going to just give that shit away to the fucking Somalis and to this guy and to that guy and to everybody else who couldn't give a shit about this country? Just so they can have a little bit more benefits? I mean, come on. And I mentioned the Somalis on purpose, right? Because you know what? And most Africans, they don't consider themselves black. And rightfully so. I agree with them. They're Somali, they're Nigerian, they're Ethiopian, they're Egyptian, they're this, they're that. They got that culture. And the other thing is they don't give a shit about skin color. The Somalis were saved from killing each other, genocide. The Hutus, the Tutsis in the Congo and all that, they don't care about you being black. They're cutting your limbs off. They're killing as many black people as they could. If black really mattered to them, they wouldn't be killing them like savages in these places. So they don't give a shit about black skin. There's no kinship there just because your skin color. Get the fuck out of here. So we shouldn't let nobody in this country, unless they're willing to pledge allegiance to the United States of America. You could have dual citizenship. You could keep some of your culture and all of that kind of stuff. But your allegiance, when you're here, should be to America. If you listen to any Somalis, and I'm picking on them because they're in the news, they're Somali first. They're Somalis with American citizenship. They're not Americans of Somali descent. They're Somalis with American citizenship. In that order. In that order. I don't hate them for that. It's just the way it is. Some of that probably goes for Israelis too. I'm Israeli with American citizenship. I'm Nigerian with American citizenship. We saw that from the Mexicans down in Los Angeles when they had the first ICE raids down there. All we saw was Mexican flags. We're Mexicans with some of them. Most of them didn't have American citizenship. But they were flying the Somali flag. I mean, the Mexican flags. They were burning the American one. And we as black people don't have a problem with that. Black Americans, Adolf, FBA, we don't have a problem with somebody burning the flag that our ancestors spent blood, sweat, and tears to build. Well, how dare you? How dare you not have an issue with foreigners coming over here shitting on this country when we put so much work into it, and it's grown to a point where we could actually get some payback, but we want to give it away to some fucking foreigners illegally? How can we vote Democrat when they're opening the borders, purposely trying to replace you with millions of foreigners? I mean, somebody tell me. You know what I'm saying? We can't have it both ways. You can't be a blackity black American and then willing to give it all away to some people who are over here illegally. And watch what Mondani does to New York City. We should all cry. I'm from New York. We should, the fact that we got the black assholes out there now talking about don't raise my property taxes 10%. You didn't see that shit coming. You voted for him in droves. And now he's sticking, and they're having a Muslim prayer call in the morning. All in your neighborhoods. And he's getting ready to just stick it to all of you stupid black people following the Democrat. It's just incredible, man. I mean, just incredible how we could be grifted so easily. Oh, Calvin! We sound like Steven. We got a whole bunch of Stevens from Django. Anyway, I just felt like venting. Because I'm not making this shit up. And I'm mad mostly at myself. I'm in my 60s. I spent a whole lifetime being an asshole for the Democrat. So I'm saying this all to you. If you're under 50 and 40 and 30, don't spend your life being a dickhead for people who hate you, who hate your independence or possibility of your greatness by telling you how much of a victim you are, by telling you that you're too dog shit stupid from getting an ID to vote, by telling you you need them or else if you can't get your own life together based on your merit because you need us to get you past the wall. You know, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, so I got some clips that I'm gonna play. And I'll just play my clips. Let me see. Let me go ahead and get them up here. And there's a whole series of black folks, and I don't have to. I just have one link with a whole bunch of them together, and we're gonna play some of those clips, and then we're gonna just see a bunch of people who say, "Hey, let's look at this thing wisely." Okay, let's look at it wisely. Let me do this. Okay. And I'm going to stop and start this stuff. All right.
Place where the only way you can be black and stand with your people is to be a Democrat. Now, if that's where we are, we're the dumbest people on the face of the planet. And we're the only people in America who operate that way. You can be white and be a Republican or a Democrat, Hispanic and be a Republican or a Democrat. Praise the Lord. Whatever, and be a Republican or a Democrat. But if you're black, the only way you can be an authentic black person is to be a Democrat. That's stupid.
Yes.
And you know what it means? It means that explains why we spend half the time, or maybe even more, out of power. I've said for years, we need to operate politically, and I want to make this clear, in a way where both parties will compete for our vote. When one party knows that they're going to get your vote no matter what, you get nothing from that party. When another party knows that they're not going to get your vote no matter what, you get nothing from that party. So then you end up in no man's land. We are not married to the Democrat Party.
Let's say that again. We are not married to the Democrat Party. And so here's the problem with what you're saying in this one. Okay? And this is a problem with a whole bunch of you, I guess, Kool-Aid drinking liberals. Okay? Trump, this has nothing to really do with Trump. It's his policies that he said on a campaign trail that makes sense. Close the borders, get the illegal motherfuckers out of here, strengthen America, trade balance, all those kind of things. His character is something that we could debate. I don't have to like this guy. I don't have to be a Trumpite. I would have voted for anybody with those same policies. It just so happened to be Trump. And the fact that he won with all of the clouds over his head should tell you something. That 78 million people said it was better to have this devil than a cackling asshole who tried to become president. That should tell you something. You know, I wish, listen, the only saving grace for all of you liberal Democrats is that it's Trump. If it was a man of high caliber with the same planks, with the same policies that he wants to put in place, you guys would never get back in power. If he was a likable guy more universally. So y'all got to hope that y'all got to just be happy that it's Trump. Because he's the one giving y'all the opening to get back in power because he makes a lot of mistakes. But his campaign was flawless. Because I agree with almost everything he was talking about. you know, and it made a whole lot of sense. It made a whole more sense than cutting the nuts off of little children, you know, paying for gender, castration surgery for prisoners.
People have a right to choose. And if you choose to be a Democrat, if you choose to be a Republican, if you choose to be independent, as I am, that doesn't make you more black nor less black. It means you're an American participating in the process. And God is on our side. Now, if we want to talk about whose side God is on, it's the Democrats who are pushing same-sex marriage. It's the Democrats who are pushing letting children get mutilated, little 8-year-old boys getting turned into girls. It's the Democrats who are 100% in their platform behind abortion and abortion rights up to the time of birth. If we start talking about whose side God is on, you got to dismiss most of the scripture to be a Democrat. Well, there are other things. What other things? What's more important than life? Trump ain't no good. Yeah, but he signed an executive order to protect Christians. He's no good, but the polls show that Christianity now has leveled off and is going back on the rise again since he's been in office. You just got to do your homework. Now you start talking about whose side God is on. No, the question not whose side God is on. The question is the question Moses asked: who's on the Lord's side?
There really is no other way to describe the Democrat Party right now other than evil. What they...
Now, I don't think this little tingle in the background is copyrighted, but listen to this lady who he's going to talk about, and the kind of people who want to take charge of the government. Just listen to this crazy ass woman who's part of the liberal party.
Have convinced individuals of, as they've supported essentially mental illness to run rampant among their base of voters. Watch this video of this mother talking about how she would rather take her and her child's life than have to go and deal with ICE. I'm not even joking. Watch and I'll comment on the other side.
I really pray it doesn't get bad enough, but being a mom in America, I had to stop walking for this. I often think that if it gets to the point of knocking on doors, God, and like, to even have these thoughts, it's like I'm literally separating from reality, right? If it comes down to me taking out myself and my kids versus us being taken and harmed by ICE, like, God help me, I did not want to do it. This is not the life I wanted. But that is a very dark thought that I've had. Death would be...
Look at the piercing on this woman's face. She has children. She actually has children. She's actually talking about the ultimate for children. ICE, what would ICE have to do with anything in her life? This is the Democrat Party right here, man. These are the liberals that permeate that whole party. The crazy. The only thing that's not on this woman is her blue hair. She's got the bull nose septum ring, which is automatically has a connotation of crazy. And her whole face is pierced, and she has children. I don't see how she can have any children that could, even after this video. How could she still have children?
Be a easier out than for my children to be taken and harmed by these pedophiles.
Now, there's a lot to unpack in that 41-second video. First off, she said her kids. She has multiple kids. Quite honestly, somebody should call Child Protective Services. I don't think
That's exactly right. Enough said. She shouldn't have any kids. Right? All right. So there's another lady that you might see around walking away. And I'm going to just kind of pass through it. She has 5 reasons on why she left the Democrat Party.
Reasons why I'm no longer a Democrat. I had to write it down to remember all of the reasons why. So first of all, when I was in high school, I didn't know that it was the Democrats who founded the Klan. I did not know that. I did not know that it was the Democrats who voted against the 13th Amendment, the amendment that freed the slaves. The Democrats were like, yeah, no, they didn't vote for that. I did not know that it was the Democrats who voted against the 14th Amendment, which made slaves citizens. I did not know that the Democrats voted against the 15th Amendment, which gave the slaves the right to vote. 13, 14, 15 amendments, Democrats were like, yeah, no, we're not voting for that. I did not know that there was a larger percentage of Republicans who worked to push through the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 than there were Democrats. I did not know that there was some white guy by the name of Everett Dickerson, a Republican, who was awarded by the NAACP for helping to facilitate and push the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 through. A white Republican did that. I did not know that Al Gore's dad participated in the largest filibuster to prevent the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 from passing. Al Gore's dad. He was a part of that. I did not know that the Democrats were more pro-abortion and they were anti-Vietnam and they were anti-war. They were pro-abortion, which kind of makes sense when you remember the 2004 Kamala Harris campaign when they had the mobiles in the parking lot, the abortion mobiles. And we also have to remember the woman who created Planned Parenthood. So these are the reasons why I'm no longer a Democrat. You come in the comments and let me know why you are still a Democrat and why none of this affects you or concerns you. And then you can also come in the comments and tell me that none of this is true, because you can Google all of it.
Anissa, you need to speak to this woman. She's talking about you.
Show me how the Democrats are the party of liberation when they actively give money to and target Black women to convince them that killing their baby is empowerment, but getting married and raising a family with a one flesh partner such as a man is oppression. I'm trying to see the liberation in the reproductive rights that you advocate for, huh? Maybe it's the liberation from heteronormative nuclear family. Maybe it's the liberation from Black women pair bonding with Black men and staying married together and raising a family. Maybe that's the liberation you speak of. It can't possibly be economic liberation, because last time I checked, all y'all want to do is offer Black folks more free stuff. Medicaid, EBT, Section 8. Now we got to add childcare on top of the Obamacare. How has anyone ever been liberated by depending more on government than less? I've never seen a person liberated because you gave them a fish, but I've absolutely seen a whole lot of people liberated when you teach them how to fish. Functioning in your freedom requires you to remove the artificial weights that are in the way that prevents you from flourishing in the marketplace and competing.
Women are loved. Just
check out this lady. Now, a lot of this stuff she's going to say about women is bipartisan. But you tell me which party is more prone to be on the side and advocating for what she's about to say than the other.
For existing, they get attention, compliments, protection, free drinks, doors opened for them, etc. And a man, he's invisible until he proves that he can provide, protect, perform, pay, or add value. In other words, earn your spot or disappear. Guess what? A woman can also decide if you become a dad or not. You get zero say. She's pregnant, her body, her choice, my dudes. End of story. Do you want the kid? Doesn't matter. Don't want it? Doesn't matter. 18 years of child support slammed on you without consent. And worse, she cheats. She claims the kid is yours. You raise it for years and discover that It's not yours later. Court, in many places, still force you to pay until 18 years of age. So you're screwed. One day, she wakes up unhappy, files for divorce, no proof needed, and walks with primary custody most of the time, years of child support, and many times a lifetime of alimony plus half of your assets. Oh, and
a lot of Republican states are starting to look at alimony. I know Florida's getting rid of it. A lot of them are looking at paternity fraud and things of that nature, where men are starting to have a little bit more rights. I just think that we just need another critical mass of men to really attack no-fault divorce. It's just not there yet.
She isn't required to show you that the money is actually helping your kid. It all goes to her. She can also falsely accuse you with zero consequences. She can claim assault, abuse, rape online to the police and in court. And if it's proven a total lie, she gets a little slap on the wrist. But you lose your job, your reputation, your sanity, and you can spend years in prison, even if you're innocent. The system shields her more than the truth. Men are disposable, not women. Draft registration, men only. Most workplace deaths, men. Most homeless, men. Suicide rate 4 times higher, men. The double standards never end. Man hits a woman, monster, jail. Woman hits a man, what did you do to her? Man cheats, you're trash. Woman cheats, she was just unhappy, he failed. The bottom line is, women get safety nets, sympathy, legal advantages, social worship, and endless help. Men don't. That is just the truth. Pretending that we're both equal is gaslighting half of the population. So wake up.
You know, it's so funny. I'm one of the guys, every time I see a sister or anybody saying we're the most disrespected, we're the most this, I always challenge that bullshit. There is no more coddled woman in the whole world than the American woman. Right behind the white woman is the black woman. Okay? You guys are the most coddled people on the face of the earth. You know, so I just miss me with all the bullshit. And there's one party who would buy into that. It's the Democrats. Because they know that by buying into that, they can keep the votes. Get those votes. No matter how bad it is, get those votes.
You could see a guy with 400,000 followers in my comments threatening me about speaking the truth because I'm just like you. I'm a field nigga, okay? I'm a felon. I was a high school dropout. My father was a heroin addict and an alcohol abuser. My mother was a paranoid schizophrenic. I grew up in the ghetto. I committed all of the crimes, the pimp, prostitute, the shootouts, getting shot at, the police, everything. In and out of jail, prison. I got the baby mamas. I paid the child support. I've been kicked out of my kid's life, but still expected to pay. Listen, the whole story of a young black male, a black man in America, I am the living excuse. And I'm supposed to get on here and say, oh man, the white man holding me back. I make $40 an hour. I make 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to get on and say, oh, there's no place for me in America. That's what they want me to hear. That's what they want me to say. Oh man, I'm a black man. The white man holding me down. Let me tell you something. They don't like niggas like me getting on this internet and telling you you don't have to be no victim to these liberals who are trying to convince you.
What for you, what has the Democrat Party, especially now today, where they stand with abortion for any reason through all 9 months, abortion on demand for any reason. And the Democrat Party is just notorious for giving Black people false promises. Well, if you vote for us, we're going to give you this, and we're not seeing it. I think that the Black community we're not only divided between colors, like people that are different colors of us, but we're also divided between each other, right? I, as a Black conservative, somebody who puts themselves out there online, I receive way more racism from fellow Black women and men than I do from white people. And it's always, oh, well, it's the white people who are messing everything up for us. They're the ones that are the racists. But as soon as I come along and I'm just a little bit different than I guess your average Black woman, because they assume, they put us in a box, like we all don't like that. We all agree that that's not okay. They see me and they're like, well, she's Uncle Tom and she doesn't belong in our group. And, you know, we don't. Cool. Yeah, exactly. And so with that, what has the Democrat Party today truly done for you? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I don't want to step on the question, but I would ask the same question of the Republican Party. Like to me, in this climate, now that we're a full year in, I don't understand how you can stand behind that man under any circumstances.
I think it's important that
you see what she did, right? One, she didn't answer the question. She didn't answer the question. And she did that on purpose because these ladies are not seasoned debaters. And the one who should have stopped her in her tracks is the one who posed the question. You can't answer a question with a question. And here's the problem with a lot of people who get gaslit with that horse shit. How could you support Trump? Well, you don't have to support Trump. You can like his policies. And that's the answer. His policies are much better than the policies that your people are promoting. And that's the answer. But I wouldn't have answered that until she answered the question first, and she didn't. And this other lady popped in there and started talking. And it wasn't hers to pop in there because she's kind of waffling as well, right? Because they lost control of the narrative by letting that lady say, I don't want to step on it, but how could you support the man? It's that's just bullshit. Answer my question first, and then we'll get on to Trump. And that's the liberals' reply for everything. I hate Trump, so therefore anything that goes on under his administration is bad. And there's too many people who are conservative or just trying to move over to the conservative thing who can't answer that question without waffling, telling people just kiss your ass. It's not about Trump. It's about saving America from the liberals and the Democrats who want to destroy this country by opening the borders and by having all kinds of freak demonic shit going. That's the answer.
We don't focus on one person. And I think
don't focus on the president?
Okay.
Right. Don't focus on the president because he's implementing policies that we need to have in this country right now. He didn't have to be a saint to do that. He just doesn't have to be a Democrat.
That says Trump is racist and therefore you are white adjacent.
I would say that they need to actually pay attention to what he's talking about and understand that if you actually want to become successful as far as money in this country, Democrats are not who you want to vote for because obviously they're replacing you with illegals.
Right.
They're telling you to your face they're replacing you with illegals. So I don't understand how you could still say, oh, Democrats are da-da-da. No, they are literally replacing you. They're giving them housing in New York. They're giving them housing everywhere else here. They're giving them $10,000 gift cards. Yep. But when you need aid, the state says, sorry, you make too much money. You're over the threshold by $500 a year. Yep. And we're not going to help you. So if you starve, you starve. We don't care. So I don't understand how you pay taxes, but they don't. But, you're not getting help and you're going to still vote for somebody who's going to give your taxes to somebody else.
My name is Zakia Cooper, and I am a 23-year-old Christian conservative from Chicago. This is going to be my walk away story because I was 100% Democrat. I was on the Democratic plantation and I was happy with that. So let me go ahead and tell y'all this story because it's a little crazy. So in 2021, I moved into my first apartment, and the apartment that I chose to move into was like a dorm style room where you would share a bathroom with a roommate of the same gender. That's what my lease said, and I was okay with that because I really wanted to move out. And so I move out, and I don't have a roommate initially, right? So I'm living there by myself for 1 full year, and I'm happy with that. A year passes, and I slowly notice that the bathroom that I had to myself is showing signs of being used by a man because I'm seeing that the toilet seat is up. And so I'm like, okay, I didn't know I had a roommate, but I just assumed that I had a roommate that was a girl because that's what they told me. I had a female roommate and she had a boy or something over there who was using the bathroom. So I'm like, whatever. He's dirty because he's not flushing the toilet and he's leaving the seat up all the time, but whatever. This is what happens when you move in a conjoined situation. So I I was satisfied, I guess. But I slowly realized that it was a man in my room, y'all. A man. A trans woman. And I realized it's because I see the person. I see this man, they moved in my room. I came out one day and I happened to see him. We came in at the same time. And I'm like, that's a man. It was a man. It was a man. They moved a man in my room. And so I stopped paying rent in that building because I'm like, how are y'all going to move a man in my room? And y'all told me in my lease that I would have a same-sex roommate. I stopped paying the rent, and eventually the housing manager or whatever reaches out to me, and she's like, I'm telling her my situation. She's like, oh, well, we can't discriminate. That's why we weren't allowed to discriminate against him. He identifies as a woman, so we had to give him a female roommate. Yeah. Craziest thing I ever heard in my life. I'll never forget that.
So, Anissa, it would be okay with you for a transvestite to move in with you? Because you believe in a man just felt like a woman one day, Anissa?
Because I was like, what the heck is going on in this country? Like, I knew that there were trans people running around. I knew that was a thing, but I never really actually paid attention to the impact of that until it directly affected me, which is how most things work. So upon coming to that realization, I'm like, wait a minute. What laws? Why can't we discriminate against? Why is there a man in my room? Because we can't discriminate. But what about me? I'm a woman. I'm 21 years old. I was 21 at the time. And y'all moving this man in my room? What if he raped me? What if something happened to me? Nobody would care. So after this experience, I became extremely interested in these so-called discrimination laws or whatever this person was speaking on. And I done fell down the conservative rabbit hole from that point forward. I found myself watching Matt Walsh, who's of the Daily Wire, and he has a documentary called What is a Woman? And it's basically about my situation where trans men are erasing women. And after watching that film, I realized that I was supporting literally satanic stuff. I didn't know. I thought I was being PC, right? No, I was supporting Satan. And I'm a Christian. I was raised a Christian. So I'm like, this ain't right. This is not aligning with my Christian values. Wait a minute. We're calling men women. It's not lying. God doesn't make mistakes. So why am I calling you a she and you're a man?
Yeah, listen, she's absolutely right. And this is the last one in this line. I just wanted to it's endless. I can find right now on social media, you could find an endless string of people, black folks, men, women, and we really need the women to wake up, to move off of. That's why I have a majority of women here, because I think black men are starting to fall in line to being independent. We were at 80%. We should be more like down to 50% in the next election. For me, I don't see how any man can vote for any Democrat anymore based on what they stand for, especially while the socialists, the Marxists, and the demonic people who run the party are running it. But anyway, so here we go with this last sister and what she has to say. She got a little history with her.
As a black woman who is part of the Republican Party, when someone says to you, how can you be part of that racist party?
I remind them that the Republican Party was founded in 1854 to stop the expansion of slavery. I remind them that our ancestors, the Negroes, as you know, David, I call myself a proud Negro. The Negro people are Republicans. When we were Republicans, we were building HBCUs. We still have the artifacts. We were building towns. My four-time great-grandfather is a man named Perry Strong. Perry Strong was the president of the whole Colfax, Mississippi GOP in 1874. And he was one of the founders of Mount Bayou, Mississippi, okay? So I got it in my blood to be a member of the Republican Party. The Republican Party did not tear down the projects. The Republican Party did not hoard the money, $1.8 billion that CHA has right now. The Republican Party did not put red X's on the building and tear down multiple multifamily buildings, resulting in empty blocks, which then caused us to close 50 schools. The Republican Party didn't do that. The Republican Party did not work with the bankers like Rahm Emanuel, who was the darling of the Democratic Party, to give us bogus loans, which then created the subprime crisis. The Republican Party did not give us the crime bill. We have to be clear about who our enemy is, and it is not the white Republican boogeyman. These are Black Democrats, African American Democrats, doing that to us because they are more concerned about getting yard sign money than they are caring about the needs of their people. So I tell people my self-esteem is too high to be a Democrat. My daddy taught me when somebody mistreats you, you better get away from them as fast as possible. And the Democratic Party does not like the Negro in the city of Chicago.
What do you say?
Well, it's not just the city of Chicago. And that's the last one I have on that. The real point really is this. You know, Malcolm X said it best, and it lives in infamy, right? He said the worst enemy to Black people is the white liberal. And that was true for his time. And it's probably still true now. But what's more true is that the worst enemy of Black people are Black liberals. Black liberals who want to continue to drink the Kool-Aid and profess that Blacks cannot make it on their own without Papa Daddy spoon feeding us everything we need to succeed. It's a lie. It's broken mentality, plantation, Stephen Django thinking. And we don't need that. When I got my engineering degree, I was one of the only Black folks in the engineering department. Nobody helped me, man, until I finally got some folks to be my partner in some of the experiments and the science projects and the things we had to do. I had to prove myself every day to those professors, right? And which was cool, which was cool. In retrospect, it had to happen that way because I earned everything I got. I had one of the most Aryan race professors write a recommendation for me to get my first engineering job, right? Because I failed one of his tests and he made me feel every piece of that F until I changed everything. And he ended up giving me a recommendation. And the one thing I know is that Black or white, I had to pass the same fucking test as all those white people. So let me just tell you, we don't need people holding our hands through life, except the folks that we could trust and the folks who have our best interests in mind. So I'm just saying, being on the Democrat plantation, we were on the chattel slavery, shackles, and physical labor, and now the Democrats had the Blacks on a mental plantation, and the grip is so strong. It's so strong that people just don't want to get off. You don't have to love Republicans, but to say that their white is more racist than the whites on the liberal side is just absolutely absurd. They all go to the same fucking clubs. And you're not invited. Anyway, so I didn't want to make this long. This is my rant, And I'm going to say, listen, if somebody tells you ain't Black if you don't vote Democrat, tell them to kiss your ass. And tell them to kiss your ass from your favorite baby boomer. I said, give you a nice lick right down the middle. Because, we don't owe anybody anything. Not no party. But we should be independents. And then we should really look at the planks that each party promotes. And like I said, if you're a man, how could you ever promote gender affirming care? How could you ever want to see your children, your son turned into a fucking princess or some bullshit? And if your wife has custody, there's nothing you could do to stop her from destroying your son. Anyway, so listen, you know what? I didn't know I was going to rant this way, but I have one more thing for you guys, and then I'm out of here. We got to get off the plantation. We just do. It's just that simple. It's just that simple.
In the shadow of the oak trees, where the too many lives lost their shine, our hands are callous, our hearts are heavy, So many dreams lost in time. Fields stretch out like a memory. Whispers blown in the breeze. Yearning for a place where we can finally breathe. We are trapped on the plantation, bound by mental chains that leave us drained. But there's a fire inside of us. We will rise again. With our voices, we'll break the silence. With our hearts, we'll find our way through the shackled darkness of our past to a brighter, free, thinking modern day. Underneath the midnight sky, stars begin to glow. We gather round in secret, sharing tales of hope. New words of freedom echo boldly, energizing our souls. We'll march to the rhythm of a true dream that makes us whole. We are trapped on the plantation, bound by mental chains that leave us strained. But there's a fire inside of us. We will rise again. With our voices, we'll break the silence. With our hearts, we'll find our way through the shackled darkness of our past to a brighter, free, thinking modern day. Every heart that's been broken, every life that's been torn, is a seed of revolution in the fields where we were born. So we'll stand up together, hand in hand we will fight for the dreams of our ancestors. We must claim our birthright. We are trapped on the plantation, bound by mental chains that leave us strained. But there's a fire inside of us. We will rise again. With our voices, we'll break the silence. With our hearts, we'll find our way through the shackled darkness of our past to a brighter, free, thinking modern day. So let the winds of change come. Let them hear our song. For we are breaking the mental shackles, and we will rise strong. From the ashes of our history, a new dawn will appear. Trapped no more, we'll find our way off the plantation. For our freedom is here.
Well, folks, that brings us to the conclusion of our little soiree tonight. Remember, listen, we are independent thinkers. We don't owe no party any allegiance, especially the damn Democrat, right? And so it's just time for us to move on, to change the dynamic. And it's up to us to do that, you know? If we could break chattel slavery and physical shackles, we could break the mental ones. Everybody ain't coming with us, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, this is not a universal thing here. I'm not going to tell you to be beholden to one party and just to switch to another one. We just need to make them both fight for our votes. It's as simple as that. Nobody should be taking us for granted any longer. And we got to understand that, you know, merit goes a long way. And handouts can't last forever. Anyway, so with that, it's your favorite baby boomer, Art Payne, over and out. And thanks to the BMU Network, we'll see you next time.